Okay, welcome to the Gunter City Council meeting at 105 North 4th Street. It is August 7th and it is 6:00 p.m. All notices have been properly posted and we have a quorum. Alan had a family emergency, so he couldn't be here tonight. But we will start with our our invocation and our Pledge of Allegiance. Dr. Enos, would you like to lead us in
Of course I will, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, if you would join me in prayer. Heavenly Father, Lord God, we thank you so much for this day you provided, this day for all of our Gunter Tigers to be able to safely go back to school. Thank you for this city, for this community, for these caring individuals who would make this meeting tonight. I pray for the leadership of this city, this town, of this community, and of the schools. I pray that we can make the decisions that are right by our community and that you guide us. You have allow us to have discernment in the actions we take, Lord God, and let us work as partners so that we can further this city and make this place better for all who inhabit it. We ask for your guidance tonight. It's in your Son's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Okay. All right, let's get started. I do have some speakers that have signed up today, so if you wish to speak on an agenda item, we sign up right here. I won't pass you up if for some reason you choose and you came in late when we get to that agenda item. Let's start with the very first. We've got a parks update. Adam? I know we're not going to do the joint efforts with the GIC right, because we pulled that out and put that as an agenda item. So talk about drainage for us.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The only update I have is on drainage, and just wanted to go over because it recently Council passed a professional service agreement with Cobb Finley for a drainage study in the woods. And since then, there's been a couple changes on a couple things, and I just want to go over them really quick. The Broken Bow easement to the south of Broken Bow, we're moving forward with that as we've said before with an RFP. So that's on schedule. One Preston Event Center, the drainage there's been some concerns there about the impact of that center having on some single family residences nearby. So we're looking to address that. And Eric can jump in here, we're both doing this. We're looking to jump in there with code enforcement to examine some of those issues. We think it may alleviate some of that. And then we're going to be using Cobb Finley, Jenny Prazak, our city engineer, on the upper reaches of the creek to examine the outfalls of the meadows, from the meadows, and the drainage mechanism at the meadows as well. So that's just going to be done through our normal contractual services with Cobb Finley. However, we had some concerns with council recently, and following those concerns, we had discussions with Cobb Finley, and we have paused the drainage study at this time, as we believe the creek clearing needs to occur prior to any study being done. So this is just paused, but afterwards we'll reevaluate. So what we will do next week is reach out to the woods and set up a time to talk with the HOA board representatives and how best to move forward with this process discussing creek cleaning. Because it's a process that just needs to be discussed with them, and so staff will work through that process with them.
Definitely before they do the study.
Yes.
Because it'll change it.
Yes, it will.
So are you still going to be working on from the woods area, or is everything paused?
Well, no, it doesn't affect the easement. It doesn't affect the easement. It does not affect the outfall area. That's different. On the upper reaches of the creek, we're still going to do that, but that's not the study. Jenny Prazak's going to be doing that, but the overall study we're pausing. But not the meadows, and we're looking at the Preston Event Center. So those are still going forward.
Okay.
Yes.
So tackling the three areas before we do the over, because it'll change it, right? All of those will change.
Yeah,
so.
We believe that the engineers
there's some big trees down there in that creek and stuff.
Yes, and so hopefully we can come to a solution and get that process moving forward as well.
Right. Thank you, Adam.
You're welcome.
Okay, so our Director of Planning and Development, Eric, do you have some updates for us?
Just real briefly, and I'm sure you probably all witnessed this if you're driving around town, especially the preserve. So what's happening on the preserve right now, we've been tweaking some things on their civil engineering plans, but they are importing soil, which is what's mainly going on right now, because when they originally came forward with some of their original civil plans, the city engineer and I looked at it, and some of the retaining walls seemed pretty excessive to us. So we kind of pushed back hard on them to kind of address that issue. They came across some import fill material from another project that Cinecola is working on. So they negotiated and got a deal to bring in import in order to do some fill and reduce down a significant number of the retaining walls that were originally based off of their cut balance of the site. So that project's well underway. We'll be having a pre-con on that one soon because the engineering plans have gone out for bids, so you can get contractors lined up for that. You've seen the church is under construction as well. We're keeping a close eye on that because of some of the proximity to the residents with any noise or construction activities anywhere, including on the bridges 2A, which is almost completed. They're just putting in the retaining walls now. They've got all the infrastructure. We should have a final walkthrough. I think Mustang Sud did theirs last week. We'll do ours probably next week. They're still doing some retaining walls that they need to finish up so they can do the hardscape and landscape plantings. But they'll be soon. They'll probably submit a permit for a couple model homes in there. And then probably noticed that the temporary building for the Texas Bank is in with their flat work and their required basically screen fence on the back. That was one that you just approved the zoning change for on the remainder of their property. And then there's just other projects, Bridges 2B, that's the engineering plans have been approved, but they're trying to get some textile approval for some lane improvement at the Bridges Road Street. And so, for too long, I mean, it's just continuing, as you all can imagine, the things going from the planning stages to going under construction now. So it's a whole new, ball of wax and challenges that we're working with. That's just, if anybody ever has any questions or citizens, the reason I just want to bring that up is so citizens understand. There's lots of issues with construction. We don't have problems with someone calling and letting us know that they have an issue. We had an issue on 121, some of the Cinecola dump truck drivers pulling out and not visibly seeing people supposedly. And I'm trying to explain to them, it doesn't matter whether they're going 45 or 60. It's your responsibility not to do it. So we are enhancing some of the traffic measures out there by putting another warning sign further. And then all of the Cinecola truck drivers have been spoken to, I've been told, to make them aware that it's a concern because we don't need an accident out there by them. And the developer is aware as well. But we talked to the developer, the engineer, and some of the Cinecola folks too. So that's really.
On that note too, just because people are asking about traffic now, it's crazy everywhere. One way in, one way out, one way north and south, one way east and west predominantly. Eric and I met with TxDOT last week. We're doing that often. So we're staying in touch with TxDOT and they're working to help us as best they can. There's a lot of challenges.
We worked with the district engineer and we didn't meet the new area engineer because the area departed for another department.
Yeah.
But we will go back, probably within the next month or 6 weeks and meet him because we're working on a lot of the turn lanes on 121 that the TIAs and the developments are requiring, and they're trying to get those permits through TxDOT. So when 2A has some lane improvements on 121, so does 2B. And then of course the elementary school. So.
And the outer loop.
And then the outer loop, some of the global pictures, outer loop, and then what we can do to try to improve 121 and 289. So we've got some additional information on what the city might do to make us more competitive when funding does come available in the next year or two with them or the county. That we'll strategize and we'll bring back a potential proposal to you all that we might have to spend some money on the design, but that would make us much more competitive and jump ahead of people that haven't done that because they showed us examples of other municipalities that had issues with intersections and TxDOT wasn't going and acquiring the right of way until they did some of the intersection design. And they gave us some ideas on some of the, we're looking at doing some additional stuff. As you probably aware right now, they did change some of the signalization so there's protected left turn and right turn lanes going north and south now, not just east and west. And it queues up a lot, but they keep evaluating the timing of those so that people funnel through. But then we talked about whatever dimensional control we can get to add another lane because we had a discussion with Chief not too long ago that if someone pulls off to that shoulder to turn right, is that illegal? It isn't, but it confuses people that think it is and then they turn. So they're looking at that for us to see if there's actual space there to actually create a turn lane so people know they have a free ride. And then global pictures like the 121 hour loop that we need to meet with Centurion American on and in that intersection. So
there's some challenges. I mean, it's not gonna go fast, you guys. It's some serious, significant challenges in TxDOT's budget. I think they said they were underfunded by 10 million last year. It's gonna happen again this year was what they're expecting. So they just, when they're looking at helping us do things, I guess there's right-of-way acquisition, they have to have money for that. They have to have money for engineers and vendors and things to get it all ready, and then there's construction. So basically what they're saying for us at Preston 121 is that we kind of have to figure out the right-of-way and the engineers, or to continue on with what some of the engineers have already started, and then we stand a good chance of them going to bat for us and saying, okay, so here's some construction money. But
yeah, it moves up once the design is done and the criteria works towards the traffic assessments. Just something randomly kind of out there is they actually threw out a potential of doing a roundabout design there, which shocked me a little bit. And some people don't like roundabouts, and I get it. But as far as traffic volume, they've proven that it, especially with trucks and stuff, the volume is significantly, and it's safer once people figure out the simplicity of it.
When you expand it some, then the bigger trucks, aren't having to come too close to somebody as they're turning.
And it'll be designed knowing that we have lots of truck traffic and stuff, and, future land uses that are coming in as well. So we're gonna talk to them about potentially helping us with those design plans. But design plans sound like if we had those in place for that intersection, it would immensely increase our chances of competitiveness of getting the funding necessary. And then they would know the right of way they need. If the city acquired the right of way, those funds spent on that could be in kind services kind of towards the design and construction. But
okay. As for mayor and alderman report, so obviously we have a council vacancy, place 1. If we do pull somebody into that, that's maybe 4 months or so. So we don't have to put anybody in. We could do a special election. We don't want to do that because it costs a lot. Or we can just leave it vacant. In January, the seats open, applications open anyway. So that's something that we got to kind of think about, given all of the things that are going on. Is it worth doing that or not? But if anybody is interested, please reach out. Let us know. I mean, in case we decide that we want to do that. So we just don't have a decision yet. BNSF Railway Development Agreement update. William had asked me to put this on the agenda. We did execute the agreement amendment. So we've got an agreement, we have an amendment. We changed 3 things in the amendment. It was keeping the 500-foot buffer all the way around, but removing the 300-foot setback only in that bottom parcel that has that's part of the county. And that was only if the operations or whatever ended up there was fully enclosed. The other thing was that we did amend annexation was 3 years instead of 5, and then allowing that track to come through just for them internally to be able to change trains and do their thing. So we're still working on the agreement because Courtney and Shannon are going back and forth with getting the language so that long term it protects us and them and everything's set. But once that's done, then we go through plating, zoning, and then non-suit, and then we'll be done and up and running. So that's where we are on that. Let's see.
And they will see an item on BNSF on 13 that will explain when we get there.
Yes, we'll talk about that, the MOU. So let's move on.
I'd like to make a motion that would take 17, 20, and 21 off of the agenda for tonight.
I'm not going to take those off. I mean, I guess the 2 of you could second it and vote it. I'm going to ask you not to.
Well, I'm gonna second it.
I'm going to ask you not to take off number 21. I mean, not number 17. Which ones did you say?
17, 20, and 21.
All right, let's do them one at a time.
Okay, 17.
I'll second that.
20.
Hold on.
You need
Hold
to-
on. So we need to vote, and I'm going to ask you once again not to take off number 17. So I've got a motion second. All in favor? Any opposed? So that was an aye for you, William?
Yes.
Okay, so we've removed number 17, and that's incredibly disappointing. Number 20. You had a motion to remove 20?
Yep.
Do you have a second?
I'll second.
Wade, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so that's unanimous. We'll remove that. Number 21. 21? Okay, so I've got a first,
I'll second.
a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's unanimous. Those have been removed. All right, so let's go back to number 4. And this I'm incredibly excited about. Thank you, Dr. Brandon Enos, for being here, our new superintendent. You probably had a chance to meet a few people. I would like for Captain Cameron and the two of you kind of just explain your challenges and getting to today. Staff has met with Dr. Enos a couple of times. Cameron's worked real closely with him. I'm so excited for the things that you're doing. Just what you've done already is.
Well, we're really excited about the partnership that we're going to form with the city, Gunter. As things change or stay the same, depending on the issue, we're going to face them together, side by side. We want to always agree on things. I'm not going to stand here and promise that because we're not. But in the end, we're going to make sure we, at the school, put our kids first, and the opportunities that they should have should be just like the opportunities in big communities, because even though we're a small town, we're really dedicated to our kids, and we're going to make a big impact. And that's what we're focused on this year at the schoolhouse. So we are wanting to, anything that's happened in the past as an ISD, I would like to see us move past that, look towards the future and say we can work collaboratively. And sometimes we'll win a little bit more at the school. Sometimes you at the city will win a little bit more. But in the end, we have a partnership. And the whole ISD and the whole city benefit from that partnership. So with that, this year I'd like to give you passes, Mayor and council members. I'd like to give you passes to attend all the events we have for 7 AAA home events. So all year long, you and one guest can get into our events for free with this pass. So with that, I'd like to come hand those to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'll give you 2, Mayor, so that Alan can have one.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I know people appreciate that. Thank you.
That's great to meet you all.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Very excited for you to be here.
So now we can talk about what you wanted me to actually talk about.
Yeah, absolutely, sir.
So about a week ago, we started meeting regular, and we've been working really hard with many other people in this room to make sure that the intersections and the traffic flows and the schoolhouses are safe as can be. We can't guarantee full safety, but what we're trying to do is prevent unnecessary accidents, delays, frustrations from the community, because in the end, that just causes everybody to be frustrated, and they start cutting lines. And so we're looking to resolve those issues, working not only with Captain Kramer, but also with the chief of police. That intersection right there, it is a joint concern for both the school and the city. Whenever we move that schoolhouse into the neighborhood there, it's caused a little bit of issues. So we're going to make sure that we do what we can to observe it for the next few days together, and then act upon what we see.
Yeah, so my quick comments would just be it's been a great working relationship. We've some quick, obvious challenges, and they've done an amazing job of pulling that together and making it happen in a very short period of time. I think we saw a lot of the fruits of that today and how the day went. I'm not supposed to say how good it went because then it might go bad tomorrow, but that said,
got onto it today.
Yeah, that said, it's been refreshing, to be
But
honest with you.
so much work, so fast. Yeah. You guys collaborated. I mean, I'm so proud.
Yeah, I think between the police department, the fire department,
Yep.
the city itself, and the ISD and their police department, just the entire partnership
Everybody.
has been absolutely amazing to get us to where we're at today.
Yeah.
And again, really short period of time, and just really thankful for the partnership.
And I do want to remind everybody, long-term solutions to these issues are going to be dependent upon us working together with outside third-party people who either have a say in that as well. Right. So we don't have all that figured out yet. We know we put a Band-Aid on the situations at this point, So it's not all solved. We're not leaving here thinking it is, but we are working towards the permanent solutions. So we're talking through that. So any questions you all have?
I don't have a question, probably in total, so really appreciate that. Look forward to having a better working relationship.
Thank you. Likewise. Any questions?
No questions, that's echo what William said. I've been married to an educator for 30 years. Been in this town for a little over 10, and getting to see the ISD and the city work together for the first time since I've been here is remarkable. So I think there's a lot of meat on the bone.
Thank you. I agree. It's on the side.
So happy. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you for coming. Okay. Let's move to, okay, so we are not going to open public hearings on agenda item number 5 or 7. And I'm pulling number 6 and 8. And here's what happened with that, just so you guys know, nothing is wrong. It's that we got this information about an hour before agenda was supposed to post. I didn't want to delay the timeline, but it wasn't ready. So once I had a chance to read it and we checked with P3 and all that, it just wasn't quite ready. So we're pulling it, we'll bring it back. Let's see, let's go to number 9. So Eric, if you can explain the Mustang, this access easement, like exactly where it is and what we're doing here.
Okay. I hope you can look in your packets if you have to see the easements we're talking about, but this all came about when we're going through some of the off-site utilities for the preserve. And they originally came to staff to create easements for a future, what we thought was a future high-pressure sewer line and high-pressure water line. After more inquisitive asking by development staff and whatnot, why, where's this coming from there? As far as we knew, there was already, those lines were already in and whatnot, and they were. So I guess in the transfer of the sale or whatever, they didn't realize that those lines never had easements put on because that is city property that they're cutting across. Had some of your staff in here at the time when those water lines were discussed or put in by Mary Lee or Mustang, I'm not sure, or the city. Probably wouldn't have put them so far in because they kind of really encumber the lot more than I like. So when they first came to us to do these easements, I was like, no, you need to scoot it down to 20 feet off the right-of-way line if that's the easement you need, and then scoot it over to the west and run more underneath the access road or the Encore utility lines that serve the plant, as opposed to encumbering our lot more. And then that's when we found out, well, the utilities are actually already there. Like, okay, well, locate them, make sure that's where they are so that the easements, encompass them adequately. So that's what they did. We did make them switch it to make sure that it is specifically wastewater, water main, and access easement. And then the other one was for the Encore lines, and then the one is along the south line, which is a separate instrument of an easement, is for the force main. So that's where all that did come from. The easement exhibits are correct. The city attorney did take a look at some of the written portions of the easement and had comments on those. We sent those back to the engineers who've been working on these to get with Mustang Sub. We've not heard back from Mustang Sub whether they agree with some of those language changes. But we wanted to go ahead and get your approval on the easements because the easements physically where they're at isn't going to change. It's just a bunch of legal ease type stuff on the other ones. Also, you'll notice I was kind of cracking up and I kind of gave Mustang a little bit of grief about this, only offering us $10 for them. And so it's up to council to decide that's cool. It's typical. It wasn't $1.
It's typical, but
it was $1 and they raised it to 10 once I kind of just messed around with them a little bit, but at any rate.
How much can we do?
Well,
Fair market value for an easement.
I mean, yeah, what is that amount? Do we know?
I don't know what that number is, but
I've seen typically it would be half of what the market rate is for the land to just be used, but it's kind of negotiated because the developer also had to get easements from Mr. Godwin, and I don't know how much he had to pay for those to get it.
Force the labor to have to go back and pay for it, but.
And I don't know, they originally had said that, the easement costs would get passed back to the developer, but
They
I was
do.
like, why? Because these easements are covering lines that are already there.
Theirs, but yeah, they won't
So-
do it unless they'll pass it back to
Well, and just so you know, I didn't make legal changes just for the purpose of making changes. There was some,
I didn't mean to think that.
Legally.
But there are legalese, there was legal terminology,
It
it's
is,
not
that needed
changing
to be
the,
changed.
the
yeah,
substance of
there,
the
there
easement
was
is the
some
same.
very broad language in there that I thought needed to be narrowed down. So that was the bulk of what I changed.
Yeah, and some of they were saying right away, like, no, this is not a
Yeah,
right of
you
way.
don't get a
at
right of
all.
way.
If you, unless you want to buy the land, then it could be a right of way. So, you know, that's where we're at. I think they'll come back and we'll be fine, but again, substance of it's the same, the easements are the easement, it's just like the city attorney said, it's just changing some language, narrow it down.
And to see how much they pay for it. And to see how much they pay for it.
Well, yeah,
I mean, the agreement right now is $10, right?
that's what they're offering, yeah. That's what it is.
Can we find out what fair market is?
Agreements, when you publish them, they become public record. You don't want to necessarily tell everybody you spent $25,000 on it, so you just put $10 other things valuable consideration and put them on. It could have been mowing the 40 acres behind the building, it could have been any number of things. But $10 just, you gotta put something in there, so. It doesn't mean that it's only $10.
Well, I know, but that's what
Only
they
because,
pay.
only to the extent that it's our property,
Yeah.
but as far as
So
the water
why would
lines
they do that
go,
for my
they have
house?
easements, so they can go access those and maintain them and fix them if they need to. And then the access easement will have access to use that if we ever design that piece of property out, we can use that driveway. That's currently gravel that we require to be improved
So we're not
surface.
doing the property, they're just using it.
Right.
That's correct.
Anything
We
we
still
charge
have
on
the
this is gonna make
surface.
Cleveland pay.
It's just, you know, like I said, it's just, it kind of encumbers us a little bit, but it is, they ran it where they ran it, so.
My point was that the $10 is not limiting in any way on what the negotiated amount is.
Okay.
It doesn't mean that land's only worth $10.
Well, but they pay $10 for it.
But there's been no agreement on
Right.
what that number is.
Yeah, there is no
So-
other agreement other than this easement, so the $10 is, you're basically saying,
$10.
okay,
So you may want to table this to your next meeting and let us figure out what a number is that you want to ask.
I'll motion to table it so we can figure out some more into that.
I'll second.
Okay, I waive the first table, William with a second, all in favor? All right, that's unanimous. Go to number 10. This is essentially the same thing. It's,
It's just the
existing
same.
sewer board's main water easement.
So same thing. Motion to table it.
Okay, waive the first,
Second.
waive with the second, all in favor? All right, those are two tabled. Let's go to number 11. Discuss, consider, and act upon authorizing a master agreement for dissemination agent services between the city of Gunter and essentially Hilltop Securities is one of their divisions. So Hilltop Securities are an investment banking firm. When we have these PIDs, you have all these obligations to disclosures and posting things and annual reports and audits and all these things that we don't want to do, nor are we qualified to do. So we've got 4 PIDs at this time. They'll be doing all of the stuff for disclosures for those PID. The PID administrator will work with Hilltop Securities to administrate the PID and do all these things. None of this comes out of our pocket. We're just saying, yes, we want HTS to work with P3, PID administrator, to get all these disclosures and annual reports out.
and then they'll send any information or approvals of the
Back to
draws to
us.
us to make sure that the infrastructure that they're claiming is done.
So I just want to make sure there's a lot of money involved in having that happen because it has to be done and we're going to pay them to do it. It doesn't, the city is not paying this, it comes out of the PID. So I wanted to make sure that was clear. So do I have a motion to approve this agreement?
I'll make a motion to approve it.
All right, I have David the first.
I got a question. Yeah, I'll second it so we can talk about it. Courtney, is this a professional service?
This is Hilltop Securities.
It'd be a professional service of the PID.
Yes.
Of the PID we created.
But because it's a PID, it's handled a little bit
The PID
differently.
statute provides for this, we don't have to do it under general professional
Right.
service. And we've got experience with this HTS that we like that.
He'll talk.
Yes, yes, they do, this is their business.
And we've been using them since I've been here.
And they're great. They're great.
That's all my questions.
Okay, so I had Dave, did you first, and then William with the second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, that's unanimous. We go to number 12, discuss, consider, and act upon authorizing administration services for the project, Gunter Master Contract, task order number 17 for Platinum Ranch. So basically what this is the Gunter Master Contract it's been around, 2020, 2021? So this is how we contract with Cobb Finley. We still contract with Cobb Finley. They're our engineers. And this is saying that this task order is going to award, I think it's $75,000 in a bucket that then they can use to work on Platinum Ranch. And then the developer, we pay this, but then the developer reimburses us. We keep a running log of this. So it's not, again, another thing that's not out of our pocket, but our engineers need our authority because we do pay it up front.
I'll have the same question on this one as I have.
Same answer.
Okay.
Do you have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
All right, Dave with a motion to approve,
I'll second.
Wade with a second, all in favor? All right, thank you, that's unanimous. So number 13, discuss and consider act upon authorizing an MOU, memorandum of understanding for BNSF Railroad. Will you explain what they're needing to do
Yeah.
in this?
So we've had discussions with the engineer that's working for them, that's doing some site development stuff. They're wanting to get started on some of the track reconfigurations, clear up to Dorchester, and then also start doing some mass grading work on the county and the EDJ property. But as part of that, they need to do some stockpiling and storing of those soils on city property. So I said, well, it's best that we get a memorandum of understanding because we really don't have a developer agreement in your zoning and your plat in place yet for you to be touching anything within the city limits. So I said, if you can give us a memorandum of understanding, so, I can give you, it's not a early grading permit like we specifically give people, but it's just for them to be able to stockpile it and to understand that they can do that while they're doing work in the county and the ETJ, but stockpile it in the, I'm repeating myself, but I just want to make sure everybody understands what I'm saying. They're really not doing work in the city yet, other than just taking that and stockpiling it, and then they'll have erosion control measures, and they'll have their SWIP that they'll provide us, and whoever is responsible for maintaining the stormwater pollution measures on the city property, where it's being stockpiled and stored. And then once we get through our processes with them, obviously they'll start doing the grading on all of it, and that soil will go back to some different places or however they work out their grading plan.
Are they having to do anything like that with the county?
Well, no, they're gonna get approvals from the county. They'll have their approvals to do their work in the county, but they just don't have any with us because we can't approve any permits because we're not established yet.
So they're just gonna have aggregate?
It's gonna be filled, it's gonna be dirt.
Just
It's soil that they're moving from one place to another, but they know they still need it. Or
They're
will
gonna put
need
it somewhere until they come back to do it again.
And then also, like I mentioned, we've talked to them, they explained kind of what they're doing with the bypass track up toward Dorchester, then they're gonna do some track improvements in order to serve this site as well, but that's obviously in their right of way, so they can do all that. They're not gonna take any tracks into this portion of the city site yet. And then we talked to them about some trestle improvements to help with our drainage too, so.
Good.
And he said he's willing, he's a K-Stater, so he's a good guy.
So, Eric, this says it's gonna be for 2 years.
That's just an open deal. They really don't know because of how long is it gonna take us to get, started on their part that's in the city. Although I think they have a potential tenant on one of their leased parcels that does fall within the city, but we don't know any of that for sure yet.
So on this graphic here is tan, the city, and green, the EJ.
I recall that's what it is if they stay consistent, yes.
Is this where the woods is?
No, that would be like different places down there.
Yeah, that's
The
generally
green
an
is
underlay
county.
of the existing site plan that we've looked at through the process of the developer agreement.
I read along with Maggie.
Yeah, all the green is the county land, the brown is city land,
So they want to start working on land that we
on
have.
county.
Well, they're gonna work on county regardless, but they want to use some of the city land that they have.
To do-
Even though we haven't done anything.
As part of the operation,
Right.
it's simply stockpiling only, no
Yeah.
grading, no
Just
no
to put the dirt
improvements.
there.
And I haven't seen the utility plans yet. That's what we hopefully get once we get back on the preliminary plat phase, to see any, because even though they're not our utilities, we still request off-site utilities or on-site utilities from Mustang Sud that they've submitted to see, and even though Mustang's the one that approves them.
So, the operating track here, that looks like they're gonna stay inside of it. But,
The future operating track, they're not gonna put it in yet.
right, they were also supposed to be putting in some berms and some wood areas. I mean, there's trees there now, are they gonna leave those trees?
They have to leave the trees on the south boundary line, but on the inside of that outer track, there's no vegetation really there. It's scrub trees and stuff. And it's out, it's on the edge of the 300-foot buffer that we established, because
It is on the edge.
it is on the edge. Schematically, I mean, it might encourage you to it
I don't have a scale here, so.
a little bit, because we do have around 50 to 75 to 100 feet north of that outer loop track is part of the buffer, because that's why the developer allowed that one track only to encroach in what's known as the buffer. But I just wasn't comfortable with them asking if they could do this and whatever without you all kind of being aware or knowing and having an understanding of why they're doing it.
I understand why they're doing it, it's their property, but we haven't really officially done any of the.
That's correct. I mean, it's just that our cooperation part with them, they could have done it, and we would have just gone out there and realized they were doing it.
Yeah.
And that's not good, so they're trying to be open with stuff, but I wasn't comfortable at the staff level just approving it without y'all knowing it.
It's dirt.
It's dirt, but
It's dirt, but it's still
We're
construction.
closer to
It's
the
still part of the
city.
It's
construction
dirt,
process.
but it's really close to the edge of the
Starting to
property.
get
It has a
that.
lot of machines moving and working. Do they say what hours they're gonna do this?
They have to meet our ordinance. If they're in the city, they can only work within our parameters or our construction timeframes, which is 7 to 7.
Are they gonna have water trucks out there to keep the dust down from transporting it from one
They'll
side?
have dust abatement
Yeah.
and all that stuff.
And it won't take long before weeds and stuff establish on top of it anyway. You've seen it on highway projects, the spoiled areas always end up getting.
I'm just saying with how dry it is, the last thing we need, the hidden lakes and the woods is a bunch of dust coming from.
I mean, I could have them add something to that extent in the memorandum of understanding if you want, or I mean, I could just tell them to, but
Yeah, just tell them that we need some, I'm sure they're gonna have dust abatement, but we need something like that, because otherwise.
And then their work hours is only within our
Yeah.
work hours.
Well, so, other than this, where are we at getting done? Have they non-suited the case yet?
I just
No.
said that.
No, we're,
I
so
literally just said that.
we,
I said we have to do zoning, we have to do plating, and then they non-sue.
Yeah.
I
and
just said
so development staff is waiting for that developer agreement to get executed done, and then they can submit their zoning.
well, the developer agreement has been signed.
Okay, so I'm like.
We did that, but
It's
we're
executed.
doing an amendment
And
to
we
it.
executed that too.
No, that hasn't been executed because we're still
But we
working on
agreed
the language.
terms.
The parties have agreed on terms, but we have not gotten it signed yet because
Right.
we're trying to describe the tan and the green. That's the only holdup, is how we describe that to make sure that the buffer is staying in place.
And then once they get that done, they're free to submit their zoning change request anytime, and we'll do the plan development orders for it. Based off the developer agreement. And they get it platted, because we can't do the plat until the zoning's in place. That's how it all started to begin with.
So we're close.
We're close.
I'll make a motion that we approve it.
Okay, got David the first to approve. I don't have a second.
I'm thinking. You know, what I'm stuck on is, they're asking us to do good faith, but they won't non-suit until we get every little T crossed and I dotted. But they want us to give them an MOU right now to let them start moving dirt.
When you say they, I don't even know if the higher ups that are working on the developer agreement are even aware of what the BNSF engineer is actually working on and doing and bringing this forward. So I imagine they probably have her review the memorandum of understanding, but I wanted to keep it simple, so I don't know if it was.
And what we agreed upon in the amendment is not being, disputed, right? It's just coming up with the language. It's an executed agreement the day I sign it, as soon as you get it to me, with the parameters that we set, the agreement that we made. Even Lance said that, right? We're not trying to change anything, we agreed upon this. So now it's just finishing it up, so.
Of course, I don't have all the terms from all the documents in front of me, but this MOU doesn't undo anything
No,
we put in?
no, this is only for them to stockpile soil. It doesn't hearken to anything in the developer agreement.
It does not amend or in any way change the developer agreement.
But it is for 2 years, so up to 2 years.
I mean, they could do this without this, right?
Well, they could, but I could also go after them for a code violation, because it's somewhat of a construction deal, but they could. But in good faith, they followed my, request to bring this to y'all as a memorandum of understanding to make sure that if I had any issues, then I can fall back on this. If you don't like 2 years, we can make it 1 year, because we'll have, I would hope, the zoning and the plat done well before that.
Did you make the motion with the added of dust? The dust?
Dust abatement.
Dust abatement.
I wrote it
That's
down.
what I wrote down as well.
So I'd like to make a motion to approve it with dust abatement and change it from 2 years to 1.
Okay, so Dave with the first to approve of dust abatement to 1 year.
Slightly out of order of parliamentary procedure, but I'll say.
Okay, William with the second, all in favor?
Hoping everything taken care of in a year, because it's gonna be hard for me to make a move 400,000 cubic yards of dirt.
Okay, we're moving into streets, the ILAs. Mr. Cole, where are you? There you are. You put number 5 and then wrote roads underneath it. Number 5 is the PID hearing. Did you mean to, did you want to talk about
My deal
this?
is I want to know on the Platinum Ranch,
Okay.
if the text dot, road plans are still in place.
Okay, so let's talk, Eric and I can talk to you after that. I just didn't want to skip you if you meant roads like down here and not upstairs. Okay, we can have that conversation with you, so meet with us afterwards. I just didn't I want to make sure that's good. Okay. So now we're on number 14, discuss, consider, and act upon an interlocal agreement with Grayson County for road improvements on Sharp Road. So this is with Commissioner Marr. And we do kind of need to get some things done before he moves to a different direction with a brand new budget. And this is what he's offered is Sharp Road in McConnell, so that's number 14 and then 15. So on number 14, do you all have any questions?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, William with the first to approve,
I'll second.
Wade with the second, all in favor? Okay, that's unanimous. And then discuss, consider, and act upon an ILA with Grayson County on McConnell Road.
I'll make a motion to approve.
All right, Wade with the first, Wade with the second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's unanimous. We'll go to number 16, discuss, consider, and act upon authorizing the ad valorem tax assessment and collection contract between Grayson County and the Bridges 2A PID. So what this is obviously Grayson County already does all of our tax collections for property ad valorem taxes. The PID is a separate assessment, and we certainly don't want to do that ourselves. I don't believe you guys want me doing that. So we would like to team up with Grayson County and also have them collect those assessments in addition to the property taxes for the Bridges 2A PID.
I'll make a motion to approve the contract with the county for doing the collection of the PID assessment for Bridges 2A.
Okay, William with the first to approve,
Second.
Dave with the second, all in favor? Okay, that's unanimous. Move on to number 18. Very unfortunately, discussion regarding code enforcement. So I don't remember who asked me for this and what you wanted to talk about, but I would really actually like for maybe Eric and Captain Cameron to be ready for this. William, did you ask me about code enforcement discussions?
I asked her, I had a laundry list of stuff, so. So my concern about code enforcement is if we're gonna do it or not, and if we're gonna do it, we need to get all of our statutes, our ordinances in place in order and coordinated and organized. So we've got things like sign statutes, whatever else we have. I'm not sure we know what all we have.
We have a lot of ordinances.
We have a lot of ordinances, and you know, the whole reason we pass ordinances is so we can make the town better. We want it to be clean and tidy and neat and comfortable, and people want to live here, right? That's why we do ordinances. I mean, that's why I was suggesting those other topics that we took off tonight, but it's so we can make the place a better place to live. And one of the things that are really crucial to that is enforcing codes. Codes are there for a reason. They're there for safety. They're there for all kinds of reasons. If we're gonna have them, we need to enforce them. If they make sense. If they don't make sense, we need to get rid of them. That's my thing. And I'm going back to a few things I know are still hanging around, and I know there was even one case where somebody didn't want to enforce a code. And I'm not fully conversant in the details, but there is a dilapidated old house across the railroad tracks, and apparently somebody was trying to talk the city into not enforcing the code for it. And I mean, just to me, it doesn't make sense. If we're gonna have codes, codes are for a good reason. Either if they're a bad code, get rid of them. If they're a good code, enforce them. So we just need a policy about how we're gonna go forward with codes. If we're not gonna use them, we shouldn't have them.
Mayor, if you want me to speak to it, I will, since I've kind of played a key role in.
I would also like to clarify that it wasn't Eric that decided not to enforce something. It was someone else. It wasn't Eric.
And we won't get into the specifics of that necessarily, but I can explain to you exactly what went down on it once we issued the code violation with the court system. But you know, from my perspective, from what I've been doing, is I take the existing ordinances that we have. Of course, we have a lot of them.
Actually, how about you go ahead and tell everybody exactly what happened?
Okay.
I think now's a great time.
Well, okay, Mayor. So that one was issued. We discussed it. We are enforcing, doing code services and enforcing the codes that we have on the books right now as the best we can, and being judicious about it, and not arbitrary and capricious. Of course, Cameron, he likes it when I use those good words.
Being fair.
So we're being fair. We look at everything at an individual. Like, we're working with someone across the street right now to do the outdoor screening. They pushed back on some stuff, just wanted to do windows. I was like, no, that's not what the code allows. The code requires that it be masonry or another product that's approved equal or something like that. And the code allows me to make that decision. So I did. So I'm working with them to do a metal that looks a whole lot better than what it was. We're dealing with tall grass and weeds, which is always a code issue type thing. But on the particular issue of a dilapidated substandard structure, is what it's called in code services, is we issued a citation that it's substandard. It was determined that way by a building inspector as well. So they went through the process, never responded, never came to talk to me about it at all, but they got it. It went to court. That particular day, the judge wasn't present. He was in an accident or something like that. So the prosecutor, I guess, was acting as the judge and prosecutor. So Donna was actually, Donna.
He can do that.
No, he can't.
No, he can't.
A prosecutor is a prosecutor, a judge is a judge.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying he can't. Can he not authorize a deal behind if the judge is not there?
Prosecutors can make deals, but judges have to sign off on them.
Exactly. So that's what.
So in the process of
he can do that portion of it, but he went too far.
In the process of that being in court, because they were, Donna was running things and came and got me, and we went back to Captain Kramer's office with the prosecutor and the two landowners. And I was approached that, hey, these guys have been around for a long time. They want to, they said they'll demo the building, but they, don't want to do it right now because they have a guy living in there that's disabled, this and that. And I'm like, don't know who's living in there. I know it doesn't make a difference to me. I can't look at it that way. It's a substandard building. It's been ruled that way. You've received a code violation for it. And so, and then he kept pushing, hey, will you entertain something that we talked to him about it? And so that's when I said, okay, well, you want to demo it? What are you thinking? Well, 2 years. I was like, no. That's just, not going to happen. So it was just kind of an awkward, uncomfortable in my 30 years of experience working on code and land use stuff to have a prosecutor approach me like that and kind of feel like he was trying to be I mean, I don't know the other term, a good old boycott system with
Because of who it was.
the landowners, and I
Because of who
didn't
it
appreciate
was.
that being on the spot on that, and I was like, we can negotiate, but I'm not gonna negotiate by here.
I gotta interrupt you for a minute. I guess I was confused. I thought the landowner came in with an attorney. You're saying that our prosecutor?
No, our prosecutor did.
Our prosecutor, in my opinion, when I was there, I felt like he was advocating for them and not me enforcing the code, that it's a substandard building and it needed to go away, and we'd go through the process to do that if necessary, which we were. But so we've had other ones, and they demoed them already.
So let me ask you this. I mean, our codes are old. They've been kind of put together over time and not always kept up with. As we try to enforce these codes, are y'all looking at them saying this is probably a good ordinance, we need to keep it, or this one needs to be looked at, we need to bring it to council and get it revamped or tossed or whatever?
Of course, I've looked at them all the time on all of them. I mean, but they've been, until up to this point, there's some things like you mentioned signage. Well, if I'm told to follow the codes that they are now before we amend them, then people can't have certain signage. People get mad at me because I tell them, I'm sorry, you can't have a freestanding banner. The code doesn't allow you. You can have it for temporary purposes on the wall. That's what the ordinance says. And our codes, why they're no different than a lot of places where you just have to make sure that there's some discrepancies that you clean up as you go, or if you don't like them, you guys tell us, and we'll try to, which we've been working towards a lot of those. We just haven't been able to bring them all forward yet. But feather flags, for instance, aren't permitted by ordinance. If you want to permit it, fine, we can write the ordinance and strike them real quick. But we've been told at this point, let the certain people that use them, as long as they're in good condition, keep doing it.
So
they did, but
We need to redo that ordinance.
these substandard, what'd you call it, substandard?
Substandard structures.
I think there's more than one of them around town, right?
There is, but we're getting a lot of people that come in. You've seen, well, hopefully you might not have seen it, but we've had 3 demos already. They just demoed them. And then some people demoed them. We didn't have to put services on them because they're coming in wanting to do development plans.
All right, so this is the only one we had to do code services on. We weren't picking on this one dilapidated.
I have to
house.
look. I think we might
No,
have
we've
done
done
2
good
or 3.
services on others, but they
did-
agreed to take them
they did what
down.
they needed to do.
This
Yeah.
one,
I may mention that as far as your dangerous structures ordinance, it's fine.
Yeah.
It doesn't really need to be amended. I mean,
Oh, the ordinance is fine, not the house.
the ordinance is fine, yes.
Right.
How we enforce substandard structures. What I would say from a code enforcement standpoint and substandard structures, I don't particularly like going through municipal court. I prefer to do the substandard structure process because municipal court is just gonna issue a citation and a fine. That's great for high grass and weeds, for other things. I don't think it's a particularly good way to do substandard structures because substandard structures are so much more involved. So I think a discussion on what the topic is that we're enforcing and what's the best way to enforce that particular ordinance is probably in order.
So how would we modify what we have so it doesn't have?
Well, we would need to modify. She's saying we just
We
change
just
the
need to do
process.
what we
Like
did
doing
on
like
the
on the
burn
burn
house.
house. is what
Yeah.
we're
yeah,
doing.
we had to have that
Instead of
hearing.
issuing a citation,
Right.
move it through a substandard structures proceeding.
Okay.
That comes to y'all and not to municipal
Right.
court.
And we have already
That's
started
that
that process.
quasi-judicial deal, and that's actually what we're doing here because of
Which is
what,
what we did because of what went down with that.
because of what went
But
down.
Other places have been able to do that on a substandard structure. But as far as any other code violations, unapproved parking surfaces, parking in the yard, where trailers and stuff, we're not setting precedent just because one person gets to do something, another person doesn't. We're staying very consistent. Once we make a decision on one person, we know there's probably 15 others. Because every time someone comes in, almost every time, someone comes in and goes, yeah, but they're doing it, or this and that. And I go, you don't know that we're not pursuing corrective measures with them either. So, I mean, it's a whole process because you don't want to just completely jam someone that's been doing something for 15 years or 20 years. But we are working towards your vision and goal of improving the quality of the enforced city.
Sorry to ask again, but I just want to make sure, all the other ones we had to notify, they cooperated and tore the house down.
So far, yes.
one
This is
across
the only
railroad
one.
is
The pink one has been the only one that I've had to deal with the prosecutor, or that went to court like this, and having not even been spoken to. A lot of the people, when they come and get a code violation, they'll come and talk to us about it. and say, hey, I want to take care of this, but I really need a little bit more time. Well, if you do that, we can have the process of stretching out, but you have to come and talk to us, and not in the back room with the prosecutor the day that you're in court. I didn't think that was really helpful
So
for them.
would it be inappropriate or okay if we published the list of code violations and just put it out there? Because I get it. I mean, in the woods, there's somebody that got a code violation for having their boat parked in the grass. Well, you gotta drive past 15 boats that are parked in the grass to get to that house.
And we're probably talking to every one of them.
And I'm sure we are, but I think maybe that level of transparency kind of be like, well, I'm on the list with Bobby, and be done with it.
If someone wanted, I would prefer not putting it out there just like on the website on a running list, because
Well,
it
then
changes every week. But if someone
I
wants to
don't
go
know that you
correct
can
it,
even do that, can you? Because if it's an HOA and you get a violation, you can't go.
Not everyone in
Somebody
the
calls
HOA
them,
is
well, why
gonna
did
know
my
that
neighbor?
it's
person
just the
did.
board
I can't-
knows that you're getting a
Yeah.
violation.
Right, the board knows, but other residents don't. You know, like, did they get one for their trash can? Hey, not your business.
Well, and we don't enforce HOA rules, so that wouldn't even be
And
Right,
information
I'm
Just
just
we
saying,
can
like,
have.
is there not a
Yeah.
privacy until
But-
it actually hits the court? I mean,
Well, I mean, yeah, you can go on any county website and see what people are charged with at
Right.
felony levels. I track people.
yeah, no, through the court,
But
through the different
so
courts.
realistically, could you put it on your website? You probably could. I don't think. Then you've got somebody who's got to keep up with it. They've got to take them off as soon as they pay that citation or correct. And citations and compliance aren't always the same thing.
Right.
So I would advise against posting a list of code violators simply because it would be a monster to maintain.
And our goal is compliance. It's not
Our
to
goal
fine
is
you.
compliance.
It's compliance. And that's why I'm saying if someone comes in and talks with us, we'll try to work out something. It's still gonna be the end result. You still have to rectify it based on what the current ordinances are on the books. But if someone needs a couple of weeks, and we've also started talking, we've done substandard stuff on, homes and stuff when I was with US and Old Hills, that we got a church group, a men's group, to come in and get donations for stuff and go fix the person's house because they're on a fixed income or they're just elderly and they can't.
And I'm
So the
interested
goal
in
is
setting
still
something
achieved.
like that up.
That, it's a code violation that your soffit's half falling down or you need a new roof or whatever, but you just can't afford it or you don't have the physical capabilities to clean up your yard, then that volunteer group comes in and takes care of it and resolves the code violation. And that makes more community as well. So I'd suggest someone doing that.
That's a good thing, yeah. Do we have a program like that here?
We don't, but I have to keep throwing it out there, hoping
We've
someone will
talked
buy
about
it
it,
and
hopefully
organize it
we can get that set up,
themselves. So.
somebody can do that.
And that's perfectly fine. We do not dictate who fixes and resolves the issue as long as the landlord, because we do, obviously in downtown, we're putting out code violations on landlords. And I'm like, I'm sorry, you're the landlord, it comes to you, you have to control your tenants and make sure that they rectify the situations on your property or you'll be paying the citations.
Well, like you said, there's some people that they've been doing it for 10 years. Well, we never have a code enforcement officer really going out and doing stuff, so.
So we're trying to be easy, but we're also making it clear, this is our goal that we've been assigned to do by city council.
Yeah.
And we're gonna do it, and the ordinances are not that horrible. They're not heinous, they're not worse than anybody else's as far as over the top of what you're making people do to clean up stuff.
I
it's
mean, I
just
think
their
I can't
standard.
have a fox on my property on our ordinances, so. Just gotta clean
Or other different
animals,
animals.
type of animals, so,
But you can have alligators.
yes. But, yeah, we're just
Our
gonna
animals-
clean up some of
Well,
them.
the alligators were in the county until they got supposed to
Right.
annex
Yeah.
like this.
They're not even on the list.
Whole nother story, we're getting off topic.
It's still code enforcement, because if someone does have
Yeah.
an animal that's on that list and we hear about it, then we have to go address it.
Yeah. And if they've had it for 10 years, it's just because now we're starting to enforce.
But that particular code to enforce, what about the animals? One of the things I was asking about, like, we need to revisit these things because that list of animals is kind of weird.
It is weird.
And there's
They
other
always
animals
are.
that are really pretty dangerous that aren't on the list, and some of the ones on the list, not that interesting.
Like I said, I've looked through the ordinances and we have a lot of them and tried to, and there's some that are in 3 different categories. That's the same ordinance.
Yeah.
It's moved all around, so.
But I think civets are on the list of dangerous animals, and if I had to pick between a civet and an alligator, I'd rather put the alligator on the list, not the civet.
I'd rather have not eat either, but
Well,
my
but
personal.
if you're picking one or the other.
Well, I mean, we can, sometimes ordinances when it comes to code services are reactionary. You don't realize you really need it until something comes up.
Yeah.
Because it's a rabbit hole that you can just go around in all day.
Anybody been here long enough to know if we ever had civet problems?
I don't even know what that is.
I don't even know
It's a cat.
It's a cat.
We'll just call it a cat.
Big cat?
Yeah.
Little, medium to.
It's a species of cat.
It's a
Like a
little
semi-wild.
bit bigger than a house cat.
Not old.
But they're not even native to North America, so.
But we have estuary ordinances as well,
Yeah.
that we have to enforce and law enforcement officers can enforce our codes, but we're working through with our third-party code people as well and trying to improve all of that.
Are we
with all of
collecting fines?
We are there. That's another topic that, they get a fine and then the courts would lower it. And I was like, we can't do that, because then people are going to hear, I get a $2,000 fine and the court's just going to lower it to $100. So it's worth me.
How does that happen?
That's a drastic amount.
Okay, it's a bad example.
It's not that bad.
$200 to $40. I'm not hacking on anybody. I'm just saying we have the fines for a reason.
So as a prosecutor, when somebody comes in, a lot of people with animal violations will just come in and pay their ticket and go on about their business. But some people want to come in and tell you their story about why their animal was out or, whatever happened. And so as a prosecutor, you meet with that person and you hear their story. And if you can get them to settle their case without having a jury trial, that's going to save the city money. So you agree to knock us $50, whatever, off, and it's up to each prosecutor. It's prosecutorial discretion what you knock off the fine amount, or you don't knock any off. It just depends. Every one of these is a fact-driven situation. So I can't comment on fine reductions in certain cases because, sometimes I give no fine reduction. Sometimes I reduce it down to just court costs. It just depends on the case. So, and I am not your prosecutor, by the way.
And then there's an interesting quandary when you have a CDA order to remove a non-conforming use and they don't, and then we start pursuing the code enforcement side of it. If they went to court and they were getting fined, I don't think the courts could waive what a ZBA ruling was to remove a certain illegal land use.
Well,
And they didn't have to, fortunately, because it got repossessed.
Yeah. But to your point about the fines, Dave, we're not trying to collect fines. We're trying to get people to stop doing things.
Right.
But if the understanding is I can just go up there and cry a little bit, and then the fine will get reduced to next to nothing, you've removed your deterrence.
Yeah,
The
turns
fine's there
into
to
a tire
deter.
with no teeth at that point.
And I gotta say, I've watched several municipal courts, and I watched numerous fines be lowered and far below what I would like to have seen them set at. And it is prosecutorial discretion to a degree, but it's also policy for the governing body to set for how you want to enforce these things. And the goal should be deterrence. I could care less what the fine is if it affects the deterrence.
Yep.
If it implements the deterrence. So we need to have, everybody needs to be on board to say we want to guide people to do the right thing. And the right thing is not driving 80 over there on 121 in the housing area. The right thing is not having dilapidated houses that are dangerous to the people that are there and the people that are nearby. The right thing is not setting fires out in open where they can catch on to other stuff. So that's the goal. And everybody that works for the city needs to be trying to achieve that goal. That's what we want. We want to have a safe city that people like to live in.
Okay.
And as a prosecutor, you have to look at the evidence you've got in your file too. And if you're not, your goal as a prosecutor is not to convict, it's to see that justice is done. So,
Certainly not to advocate for the person that's in front of the court, though.
Yeah. Well, and that's why city councils don't get involved in the prosecutor's role, the prosecutor doesn't get involved in the city, or they shouldn't, vice versa, get involved in each other's roles, because they are very different roles. But I'm certain that if you met with your prosecutor and explained your concerns, that you would be provided with a explanation, whether it's one you liked or not, I don't know.
And like I said, I don't care as long as it gets the same, if it gets the outcome we want, I don't care what they choose to do.
Right.
But at the same time, I don't want us to have the city that, I'll just pay the fee.
Well,
He's gonna lower it to $20. Who cares?
yeah, that
I'll
was
mow
my
it next
point.
week.
Yeah, the punitive damage is probably the most successful at getting compliance. Because what else is there really? You're
Well,
not gonna- you're not
that
gonna
is
get
the
that money.
deterrence. People don't like to keep taking money out of their pocket, so they stop doing it, right? But my point, to today's point, was all of our people, including our prosecutor, need to be helping implement the goals and policies of the city, not making up their own. This is something I've talked about before. Everybody that works in the city, every department, their goal is not to make up their own policies and decide how they're gonna implement things, or to carry out the policies that are set through the ordinances and the resolutions that the city council puts out. That's everybody's job, is to make everybody row the same way. We want all to go the same direction.
So,
On to the next
any
one?
other-
'Cause that was just a discussion.
Yeah, it's just discussion.
And I would suggest to you that if you have someone, citizen, ask the council members a question or whatever, or have a concern about it, let us know. And we can kind of explain it to you more, or they can feel free to come in and chat with staff and we'll, work with them on it.
How do code violations come to your attention? I mean, do we have the code people that we're paying driving around?
Yes,
town?
they come in and drive around, and then if we see something, or if a citizen sees something, can call and let us know, and we can say, okay, yeah, it's already on the list, or no, that really isn't a code violation. Or it is, and we address it, but mainly it's our third party right now that will be driving around every other week. I think it is, something like that, come on Tuesdays.
Have they been out towards Alan's house for the shed thing?
Yes, they have. We're dealing with just some issues of stuff that are, code violations, but they're kind of back up in there, and whether they would go on the property to really evaluate it and see it or not. We've been discussing procedures and stuff, so.
Yeah, we're trying to get the process to where everyone understands if there is an issue or if someone has a question, direct it straight to, the code enforcement clerk, and then she passes it on. So now, when you're talking about someone gets a ticket, like we had 2 last week, or at the end of the month, I think it was High Grass, they, got their warning, and they came back and they got the citation, I think it was like $178. They want to know, what can we do about it, so when it comes to court, they have the, if they will mow it, send the code enforcement clerk a picture of it, and then they'll dismiss it for $40. Because all we're trying to do is get compliance.
Right.
But that is the way the process is working.
Okay, number 19, discuss, consider, and act upon renaming city roads for clarity, reducing confusion. So William, you asked for this, so I'll let you explain it.
I did ask for that, so, and this is not unique to Gunter, it's all over the county. And the county's making the same effort to get the road named in the same way, because when 911 wants to dispatch somebody, it's not impossible, but it's a lot easier if the road names make sense. So we have roads that go one direction and then turn and go another direction, and they're the same road, same name, and then they turn again and they got a new name. Or they go across one street and on the other side of the street they got another name. It just makes it hard if you're trying to tell somebody in an emergency situation to get here, and you forget that, oh yeah, that road renames itself after it turns the curve, or it doesn't rename itself after it turns the curve, or after it slants off one direction and gets a new name. So that was my request, was that we look at, I listed some examples of several roads, but it's by far not all of them. And now's a good time to start renaming roads while there's not a lot of people living on them, because once we get 9,000 more houses, it's gonna be too late. It's easy to do it now while we can, make it sensible, so one road goes east and west, and one road goes north and south, and they don't have, and one road doesn't have 10 names. One of the, Bounds is a great example. You look at Bounds, it goes up, and then it turns, and then it becomes Bounds Ranch, and then part of the other road goes off that really looks like it's still Bounds, but it gets another name over there. Savage, Strawn, and then it's got a third name as it goes further west. It's all over like that. So that's what I'm suggesting, is that we look at that, and I don't know if we just make the decision, if we get all the people on the roads to come in and get involved and help come up with a better name. If we're gonna rename them, do we wanna take the opportunity to give a new name? Is there somebody we wanna remember that isn't remembered and keep the name on the road? Like, for example, Mackey Road's gonna go away, or Strong Road. Which one is Strong? Strong's going away, isn't it? Didn't Burlington Road get rid of Strong? I mean, the Strongs are a family that have been around forever, and you know, it'd be nice if we could pick one of those names and stick it there. So we've got an opportunity to rename roads, especially in the context of looking at what the UPO is trying to do for future roads and get things lined up and straight and organized. Now's the time to do it. If we don't do it now, it'll be a lot harder later.
I agree. As far as like a strategy to do that, I guess we need a list.
I was pulling up William's list. He mentioned a few.
And one of the roads I suggested was we just, we go ahead and rename 289 to Preston Road. Everybody else, the entirety of the Metroplex calls that road Preston. I think we're the only place that doesn't call it Preston.
That's my
Question, that's
There's
Texas.
a portion, no, there's a portion of it that already has been, and these discussions will have to include TCOG, because they're the ones that came back and told us what portion of this road will be Preston Road, and what portion was not.
So I have to get insurance, it doesn't say 289.
So the portion of 289 is already Preston
Part of
Road.
it's already,
It's just not been
which,
changed,
you know,
the
adds more
name, the
confusion,
sign hasn't been
right?
changed,
So-
and that was probably 4 years ago.
So we're gonna just get the whole thing named Preston and be done with it.
Especially as we get more businesses along there, it's
Well, I've
There's
noticed a
that
lot of
289.
people putting Preston on their addresses and their cards, even if they're not actually on the part that's named Preston. And everybody refers to it as Preston. I don't think anyone, very few people know that it's actually named 8th Street.
oh, it is.
It's also this.
So, again, that's just another example of stuff that just be a whole lot easier for everybody, and while we still have a small population, it's a good time to do it. Because once we're bigger, it'll be harder.
So where we put the William Stevens Boulevard?
I don't need a Williams Stevens
Okay.
Boulevard.
So do you wanna come up with a list? I mean, you've got a few here. Do you wanna come up with a list?
I'll sit down.
Because if you bring it back and you've got a solid list, and then everybody votes on changing those, it's simply a vote, and then Courtney can create the ordinance, right, after. So, but you gotta have let's do it one time.
Yeah.
Not, oh crap, we forgot about this one.
Well, and again, I don't know how to get everybody, I hope the town's watching or listening, but if people have an idea about a road name, they ought to, you know, get the information into us so we can start looking at it, because we sure don't wanna end up, you know, naming a road that somebody's gonna just hate and never wanna drive on again. But if we can get some nice, easy, sensible names, it'll make everybody's life easier in the long run, although it won't be fun changing it if you're used to driving on Bounds Road. Now it's got a new name. I think Cedar and Tioga are another one. That's
Cedar, Tioga, and then,
Cedar changes names when you cross the railroad track.
and then what is it, College or?
College. J.C. Maples changes names when you go across 121 for some little stretch of road that says, what's it called, Preston Crossing? It doesn't even cross Preston, which isn't named Preston, and it doesn't cross it anyway. I mean, just a lot of names that just don't make sense.
Some of the people bid for it, they won't put their last name.
Oh, there you go. A little extra revenue for the city.
Alright, so
So-
your task, and then the rest of you can kind of figure out, oh, if there's something, a road that we haven't talked about. Bring it all back, all together. You let me know when you're ready to put it back on the agenda. Were you about to say something?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, interesting topic and line of discussion is when we have developments come in, like, newer ones like the preserve and stuff, we review the names that they offer up, or the name of the subdivision actually too. And so, because we wanna check with TCOG and the county to make sure we're not getting duplicate names, especially in Gunter, but because we're kind of spotty like we are with the county, and there's other little developments that come in, and 1 or 2 acre in the county type things, we try to look and see and run a check, and then the fire department will be looking at it as well to just kind of make sure we don't have any names that are similar or identical.
Well, that we
In a
have,
different
we
development.
have McConnell and McDonald, and they're very close to each other. And, in the heat of an emergency, that's an easy mistake to make. So that kind of stuff just needs to be, like I said, I'm repeating myself, but now's a good time to do it before we get bigger and it's harder.
Are you gonna make a motion?
We don't have anything to do yet, but
Oh,
y'all will
discuss,
go over.
consider. Okay.
Yeah, it's just, if we're gonna do something like that, we need to have them all done, come in with a whole list and do it all at one time.
Yeah, so I'll go over it. I'll
So
just walk through.
That's
the
your
map,
project,
get
William,
all the-
and then you guys give some feedback too, in case you forget something. Let's move on to 23, this is council business executive session. We're gonna meet under 551071, consultation with our attorney, discussing contemplated litigation. We're also gonna meet under 551072 for the purpose of discussing real property. On that one, I'm also going to, just as the public's notice, pull in Paul Walker, because he's president of the MDD, who actually agreed to fund this property, and we're gonna talk to him. I asked him to come here to give some feedback. So we will adjourn to, we will go to executive session at 7:18. motion, I don't know, does anybody have a motion to make?
We're picking back up on the, which item?
So, yeah, there's nothing on the first one yet, that was just an update.
So on the school property purchase.
Right.
I'd like to make a motion to reaffirm the purchase that we previously made, but we made that one with an MOU, so I'd like to make a motion to affirm that purchase with the Gunter ISD, but without the MOU.
Okay, so I've got a first for William,
I'll second.
and second with Wade, all in favor?
Uh,
All right, that is unanimous. And we do not have any other action to take, so we will adjourn at 8:31.